Welcome everybody. Hey, what I'd love you to do is if you have your chat window open, if you're on a laptop, obviously at the bottom of the screen, there is the chat icon. If you click that now, what I'd love you to do is just put the city or the town that you're living in or based in right now. If you could drop that into the chat right now, I'd love to see where you hail from. So we can just see that in the chat. Now, I'm actually looking in the chat. If you can type the name of your town or your city where you are, that would be wonderful, just to see where everyone is from. Karthika's from Hyderabad. That's great. Great to have you drop them. And many people from Hyderabad, it seems. That's good. Just drop in the town or the city where you're from. It's just good to see where you're from. I myself, I'm in Jakarta. I don't look like I'm Indonesian. I'm a white guy. I'm actually from New Zealand. I'm a Kiwi, but I've been living in Indonesia for the past 7 years. Alrighty, so Hyderabad, Andhra Pradesh, Jaswanth, forgive my pronunciation, CBIT, okay. Wonderful. Look, great to have you here. What I will do in a few moments is just share my screen. As Mr. Ron said, we love to honor your time because you're here on time, you're ready to go. We don't want to hold you up, so we will be starting as well. And just to see where you're at, could you let us know, are you one of three things? Are you in high school? Are you in university? Or are you working? Are you in high school? Are you in university? Or are you working in a business, in a job, in your own business, whatever it is? Or maybe you're in between university and work. Just say work, because that's what you're heading towards. So in high school, in university, or in work. It'd be great to see where you're at. Okay, a lot of people dropping in university. Okay, good to see. Some people working. Dr. Naga, wonderful. Wonderful. Just while you're doing that, please do type in where you're from and also whether you're high school, at university or working. Also want to thank Mr. Ron and Mr. Srinivas Reddy, the president of Storm Overseas. Thank you so much for putting this opportunity on for me to share as well. Wonderful. So many people responding in the chat. That's wonderful. What I'm going to do now is share my screen with you. We are recording the session. Let me check. Mr. Ron, the recording will be available for everybody in some time after the webinar is finished, correct?
That's right.
Okay, great. So if you need to leave early, we hope you don't, but if you need to leave early, the recording will be available. And you will see under my name in the chat right now, and at the top of the chat, I'm pasting something called the end of webinar review, gg.gg/storm transform. Of course, at the end of the webinar, we love to get your feedback. We love to improve, and we want to serve you better, whether you're at high school, whether you're at university, or whether you are working. So I'm just going to share my screen now, Mr. Ron, and we'll make a start. And I'm going to mute everybody. And Ron is my co-host and also our Storm Overseas co-host. If you could just make sure everyone is muted. Everybody, please do make sure you remain muted as well through the session, just so I can share well. And our recording will be very good for you as well. All righty. So hopefully you can see my screen. Ron, I'll just get you to unmute yourself and let me know, can you see my screen successfully?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So everybody, you're in the right place if you're here for the Digital Transformation webinar. We're going to spend a strong and good and profitable 1 hour together, and we will be finishing on time. Our focus is digital transformation, and what that means, whether you are in engineering, whether you're in business, whether you are from the scientific background, regardless of your background, you're going to find this very valuable as you understand how things are changing and how we've moved already into two things. Number one is Industry 4.0, and number two is the new normal, which will become abundantly clear for you as we go forward. And as you can see on the bottom right of my screen, also the gg.gg/storm transform, which is where we would love to receive your feedback at the end of this session. So I'm Craig Hansen. I'm the director of the University of Applied Research and Development, established in New Zealand and registered as a university in the United Kingdom. I'm also a head of centre for the NOCN. NOCN has 2,000 institutions around the world, and the University of Applied Research and Development is part of the NOCN group, and so I'm therefore one of the heads of centres. I'm also a Google Certified Innovator, a Microsoft Master Trainer, and the Academic Director of 3DI. Means I keep myself very busy, but also I'm able to understand and see how digital is really transforming things in community, transforming things in business, transforming things in science, engineering, community education, really at every level, and even on a family level as well. So we're going to cover some of those today in this webinar. So really though, now is quite unique. We are in unprecedented times. We have some things that are happening, such as school closures and neighborhood closures. What does this do to us? It really disrupts us in our connection to other people, disrupts us in terms of our ability to give help and receive help from other people as well. Due to the lockdown and business closures, some people are stranded in places in their country where they did not expect to be stranded. They may have moved there for work or business or study, and they're unable to get back to where they want to be with their family. Ultimately, travel and international travel bans makes that difficult as well. For me, in Indonesia, there has been an internal travel ban where people cannot travel for the Ramadan and post-Ramadan holiday, where most people return to their villages. This has really forced people to think about doing things in new ways and moving towards more digital. Also, trade restrictions have had a huge impact on how things happen and how we do things, and digital has had a significant impact on how that happens, particularly around trade restrictions and the lockdowns and the closures as well. The thing that really drives transformation and makes this profitable and makes this effective and makes it something that we can actually grow from and use this as an opportunity in the new normal is the Internet of Things. Now, the Internet of Things is no one thing. The Internet of Things is really how everything is working together, whether that's engineering or business or politics. Things are converging. We have this convergence of devices coming together and being tied together because of the internet. And we will never ever be the same because of the Internet of Things. As I do, as part of my research, I tend to look at contemporary materials as well as academic research and scientific research. As I'm looking at Forbes at the moment, and some of the things in a recent article in Forbes really grabbed my attention, and I thought you'd love to hear this, is that in terms of business and companies, whether that's engineering or whether that's business administration, whether that's in the scientific area, it's really enabling, and digital transformation is enabling companies to make smarter products. The example that I love to give is my fridge. Here's my fridge. I call him George. George the fridge. You notice George is very different. George is no longer an ice box. So when I look at George, he has this screen on the front of him, and the screen tells me the temperature, it gives me the news. It also tells me whether I am fully stocked with eggs, milk, and other vegetables and things like that. And it also tells me when things are running low. How does this happen? It's really this transformation of this simple device becoming connected through the internet and connected through devices inside the fridge, such as sensors. So the fridge tells me when I walk past it recognizes movement, and it pushes an alert on the screen and says, Craig, you've run out of eggs. And it asks me to do something, ignore or place an order. So I can choose to place an order, but I don't have to be in my house for George to let me know the eggs have run out. George can let me know from WhatsApp anywhere I am, whether I'm in a research project in Nepal, or whether I'm back in New Zealand holidaying, or whether I'm out of my home and working with other companies and helping them transform their businesses. My fridge will send me a message. George sends me a message saying, Craig, you're running low on eggs. Do you want to ignore this or place an order? If I say place an order, George, my fridge, will not only place the order of the eggs to my local supermarket, George will communicate with Gojek. Gojek is our local motorcycle taxi. George will make sure that the eggs are ordered, the eggs are picked up, the eggs are paid for, the delivery man is paid for, and the eggs are placed, because it's the pandemic, in the box at my front door, and then the delivery driver will leave. George is connected because of the Internet of Things, and that hugely has transformed something as simple and mundane as a fridge, as a product, and the engineering behind it, and the way that it's marketed, the way that it's communicated, the way that it's developed as a business, and the way that it communicates with me as a customer through a myriad of devices through the Internet. Digital really has transformed the most basic of things to become smart. It also enables businesses to have smarter operations and decisions that they make. So really, what are we talking about? We're talking about trends and tracking trends internally and externally. And if you're an engineer or a business person or from a science background, then externally is often really, really important. And here's one simple thing. We can use machine learning or data visualization, artificial intelligence, deep learning and data science. We can use all of these things and the mention of them to give us information to create better products and better services. And using things like data visualization, you can see on my screen, there is a showing with a line graph of change over time. And on the left-hand side, there's a histogram that gives me the count. So I can see the predominance of certain things being counted in Google Trends. That would take me years or months to do manually, but by pushing a few buttons and using Google Trends and other big data analysis tools, I can see visually represented to me trends that help companies and myself to develop products in a much smarter way that meet the needs of the customers as they want them. And when we track these trends, we can do market analysis, we can provide much more accurate sales, and we can actually target those products to the customers as they want them. So Google Alerts and Google Trends is a free version, and then we have things like Feedly and Topsy as well, which provides information instantaneously. And this digital transformation means that engineers and science people and business people and educators and community people and people at home can see things in real time and make real decisions far more accurate and far more efficient and far more effective. So Forbes really tells us that there is a change in business model. Business models change and they iterate. Google is a wonderful example of this. And when I became a Google certified innovator, it's in Sydney 4 years ago, we learned how Google iterates its products. What does this mean? If you're an engineer, you know it all too well. If you're a business person or business studies person, you know that in businesses, products are iterated. Version 1 goes out, we get customer feedback, and then we create version 2 or 1.5. If you're a science person, you would know that we test different vaccines in different ways, and then we test the results. These are different iterations. And we can use trends and tracking and digital tools and the convergence through the Internet of Things to track customer experience by getting customers to give us feedback immediately. We're going to do that today at the end of the seminar, gg.gg/storm transform. We're going to get your feedback, get you to tell us information about how we did. So we know how to do better and how to serve you better going forward. So digital transformation, it is everywhere. Right from George, my fridge, to how scientific people create vaccines, how engineers develop products, and how business people market their services and launch startups. Something that's very, very important to recognize no matter which discipline you're in. Because of the way that digital transformation is affecting data and the transmission of data, we can reduce costs and we can reduce downtime. In Indonesia, many people who are working in different levels of jobs, and in New Zealand, and in America, and in the United Kingdom, and I know that in some segments or areas and regions in India, from someone who's a machinist making clothing, to someone who's doing digital marketing, to someone who is a teacher, is now working from home. Suddenly the cost of rental space is eliminated. Suddenly the cost of electricity and internet is eliminated from the business and transferred to the customer, or sorry, not to the customer, but to the employee. Now the business obviously has to fund that, but the cost of a private connection being subsidized is way cheaper than a commercial internet or electricity connection. So costs go down and downtime reduces as well. People are able to work without having to get stuck in traffic. Suddenly their health goes up because they're not traveling through smog. They're able to sleep into a more reasonable time. And so we find that costs go down, downtime goes down, productivity goes up. So this means efficiency and productivity gains are experienced by customers, by employees, by businesses, and also by researchers, because we're able to identify what are the drivers of efficiency, what are the drivers of productivity. You're able to not only identify those drivers, but also represent them visually. And I've shown you a couple of graphs, how you can represent things with colors and pictures and charts and histograms. What does this do? It allows you to see change over time. It allows you to see, are you being effective in managing your inventory on time and delivering a customer experience that helps people to buy from you again? Are you producing and working with people to create and design and engineer things in an efficient and productive way? And are you communicating with people immediately so you can respond thoroughly when you get that feedback? This is powerful. And this is how digital is transforming everything we do. If you're in a business or you're an engineer or from a science background, tracking assets, whether you're working in a lab and you need to know where samples are, whether you're an engineer and you're tracking different components of a product, whether you're a marketing person and you're wanting to track your supply chain, tracking products and reducing waste is very important to remove slippage. I'll give you an example. You can see the logo on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Wild Geese Group is an emergency response and risk management training center in Indonesia, in Jakarta. They have a partner here, as well as in Malaysia, which is their head office, in Kuala Lumpur, and they have sites all around the world. The founder of Wild Geese Group, Mr. Tim Alsop, is actually now Sir Tim Alsop. He's from Australia, ex-military, and he's done an incredible thing by setting up an incident command center. So whenever there's a hurricane, an earthquake, a bomb, an oil rig explodes like Deep Sea Horizon in America, Sir Tim becomes the incident commander in the MERSC, which is the Incident Command Center. Next door to the MERSC are a myriad of computer screens on the wall. And this is where he tracks hundreds of ships traveling around the region on behalf of Petrogas, which is the largest oil producer in this region. If any ship deviates from the path it's meant to go, a warning alarm bell goes, and instantly they can zoom down with a satellite, see where the ship is, contact the captain and say, why aren't you where you should be? Who knows, maybe it was a pirate, maybe someone's diverted the ship to siphon some oil off, maybe they've had mechanical failure and they need help. But this convergence of data and satellites and the Internet of Things and information, this digital transformation allows the tracking of assets and the waste reduction. And my good friend Tim, the founder of Wild Geese, has been knighted in Malaysia and is now called Dato Tim Alsop, which means Sir, because of his recognition of how digital transformation is changing the way that assets are managed and tracked. Also, there are new business models being developed because of digital transformation. You know this, everybody. Right now, we're doing a webinar. I'm in Jakarta. I'm from Indonesia. There are people from Andhra Pradesh, from Hyderabad, who are on this webinar right now. We are an always-on generation right now. We are data-driven. Not only are we data-driven, but we're also able to do things remote and with speed immediately. And everything is being mechanized. Make no mistake, this is a brand new normal that we are in right now. And when we combine this digitally, we transform things with artificial intelligence and virtual reality and augmented reality, robotics and blockchain. All of these things are powerful. Excuse me 1 second. Please forgive me, I had an internet fade there. So these things, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, robotics, all of these things enable us to unlock previously untapped revenue. What does this do for us? It allows us to create new revenue streams out of new products and new information. It allows us also to gain a competitive advantage that we didn't have before. So for you as a university student, and I saw many people type university in the chat earlier, this is a time of opportunity. This is a time to look at data and understand how digital is transforming everything, to give yourself a competitive advantage when you move into the workforce. Now, if you're in the workforce right now, you can use data and searches and trends to see where is your career, your industry going. So you can be prepared to have a competitive advantage when others just don't have it. There are new training opportunities being created by educators and higher quality products and services being able to be delivered because of these digital transformation tools and strategies. So really, when we look at this, we're thinking about the 8 V's of big data. Now, these 8 V's, you may have heard of some of them before, but some of the key ones for us right now is velocity, and that's speed, veracity to understand what is true, and also value. Out of these 8 V's, for me, those 3 are very important. We're able to provide greater value to the people that we serve. We can harness this data through these digital tools. We can drive decision making. We can know where things are and how things are. Just like I gave the example of Sir Tim in Malaysia, knowing where the ships are and the state of those ships. So big data has enabled these 8 V's that you can see on the screen right now to transform the way science, engineering, business, education, and really everything in life is happening. Now, if you're in business, you're aware of content marketing and social media. How does this relate to engineering? Well, if you're paying attention, we can actually move faster in terms of developing global products with a global design team. As an engineer, based on trends, we can produce products not only in our country and then ship them where they need to go, but we can produce them, design them, manufacture them, ship them, deliver them in the country where the customer is. No longer are we geographically bound. We can produce things in market and modify the products based on customer demand. And ultimately, we can customize based on customer demand because we collaborate with the customers through social media and social marketing. These are just some of the things that we cover in our digital transformation diplomas. Ultimately, in education will never ever be the same. And I have to say, Storm Overseas is really pushing the boundaries and at the cutting edge. If you've registered or heard about this webinar through the Storm Overseas app, you're in the right place, because you need to be able to, as a university student, as a working person, as a high school student, you need to be able to search, apply for, enroll, learn, submit, and graduate online. Because this pandemic should not stop you in your career progression. Everything we do at the university, we do it all online. We do enrollments online, recognition of prior learning. We do all of our learning assignments. We do gradings. We do graduation. Everything is online. So when you work with a partner like Storm Overseas and you're thinking about who do I go with for my next step forward in my career, you need to ask yourself some questions, because the research tells us unequivocally we are in Industry 4.0. There is the cyber-physical connection right now. Think of George, my fridge. There is a cyber, meaning the internet, and physical, meaning my fridge, connection and system. The Internet of Things and networks has completely transformed through digital the way we live and the way we work. So we're definitely in Industry 4.0 and maybe even moving into Industry 4.5 with artificial intelligence and robotics. So to be successful, the research tells us ultimately we have to be able to work in a team and have time management. We also need to be problem solvers and be self-learners. There needs to be speed and a commitment to your customer, your teammates, your bosses, everyone, your directors, your shareholders, your fellow students, your peers, so that you can work and live anywhere, anytime. So really, when you're thinking about training and learning, what should your education program be like? I'll give you an example from UARD, our university. Everything we do is on a social platform for learning. So when you're thinking about how you move forward in your career, you need to consider social learning. Are you able to access your content 24/7 from your learning course? Is there the opportunity to interact? Nothing happens alone. Nothing is done in isolation these days. Whether you're engineering, you're working in a team. If you're a scientist, you're working in a team. If you're in business, you're working in a team. So everything is about team. Shouldn't your learning be about that too? So is there an opportunity to interact? Is your learning opportunity, your work, your business, your engineering, your science, is it mobile? Is it on any sort of platform like a mobile phone or a tablet? Are your assessments, your rubrics, your deadlines, are they all transparent? So look, just to wrap up before we go into some Q&A and some questions with Mr. Ron, I really want to encourage everyone to see right now as a time of opportunity with this digital transformation. And this pandemic time is quite scary and there are restrictions on us. But see this as an opportunity to learn, to design your future, to collaborate with people who can get you where you want to go, and to launch the next step of your career, to launch your next business, to launch your next qualification, to launch your next interaction with someone who's going to take you to the next level in science or engineering or business or whatever it is that you do in community. This is an opportunity time. Things will never be the way they were. I had the privilege of interviewing 7 different people over the last week at different areas from the Federal Emergency Management Agency in America, from hospitals, as part of our emergency management and response faculty for the university. Everyone has said nothing will be the same. While we might get a vaccine, the economic impacts will mean that the world will never be the same. Concern for the next type of COVID or respiratory illness, we will never be the same. The way that neighborhoods and schools work won't be the same. We're in a new normal. We don't need to be scared though. We need to be smart. We need to use the digital tools to transform how we prepare for the new normal, because it won't be what we think it is today. It will change rapidly. So we had some questions that came in, and maybe if Mr. Ron would like to answer as well. Mr. Ron, you could turn on your microphone and jump in as well, but I'm going to go through and answer some of these questions we've already received. So we had this question: how will this digital acumen or these digital skills really help students from an engineering background? On the bottom right of my screen, you can see Right Hemisphere. Now, this is an engineering software that was created in New Zealand, built in New Zealand, and it was used all around the world by engineers and designers. Boeing, the aircraft company, Boeing, it was one of the customers that uses Right Hemisphere. Right Hemisphere was bought by SAP. You may have heard of SAP, a small company bought Right Hemisphere. I say that tongue-in-cheek, of course, because SAP is a huge company, as you well know. And so Right Hemisphere, and it's newly being part of SAP, it is a digital tool to enable engineers to collaborate and build products, and mechanical engineers and electrical designers to create products and equipment anywhere, anytime, and collaborate all around the world. What are some of the short courses we can take in this challenging climate to be prepared better for our careers? Well, there's 2 of them, which you will be told about through the Storm app and will be communicated with you by Storm Overseas over this next period of time. There's our Diploma in Digital Transformation and Business Administration, which is appropriate for anyone in business, engineering, or science. And the Diploma in Digital Productivity and Effectiveness Strategies, again, highly appropriate for anybody. And these are a maximum of 3 months long. You could complete it in a week if you're really focused. What have you got else to do right now? Yeah. So using your time well, you could jump into one of these courses and do it at your own pace and come out with a university qualification short course approved in the United Kingdom and put that in your toolkit to use to give yourself that competitive edge that I spoke about earlier. What's in it for me? A guy from the science background regarding digital transformational strategies. I love this question. Immediately, I went to the National Science Foundation from America. As I looked at that website, I saw all of these digital projects where people were collaborating online. I saw scientific competitions where people were working online with digital tools to solve global problems. What's in it for you, science guy? Everything. Understanding digital tools and how they work and how they transform everything will give you that competitive edge. And when you go on a website like the National Science Foundation and you see all of these digital projects that are changing the world, you'll know it's the place you need to be to set yourself up for the future for your career. For commerce stream students, how will this program help me in e-commerce? Well, I just grabbed very quickly this image on the bottom right-hand side, and you can see in millions only in the United States. And I know for India, this is gigantic. The number of mobile shoppers, meaning they shop online, e-commerce from their mobile phone, mobile shoppers is 198.8 million 2 years ago. In India, it's got to be significantly bigger than that. So if you're in e-commerce or you're in commerce, you need to think mobile first, number one. And number two, you need to think anywhere, anytime to make sure that your systems inculcate these digital tools and understand how they're transforming things using digital tools and tracking trends so you can change what you offer, how you offer it, and how customers can buy mobile. You're in the right place if you're commerce and you want to look at digital tools. Can we have some practical advice for someone opting for a career in digital transformation? I love this because I've been a judge on behalf of the Startup Foundation, which is a global foundation. And I'll give you two pieces of advice. Number one, look for a qualification, a short course or a degree or a master's course where you can understand design technology and how to disrupt industries. So look for disruption tools, look for digital transformation. You need to look for exploration, testing, and growth. A curriculum and a course which will cover these three. And the two diplomas I talked about earlier, we cover these three. So look for a qualification that will set you up for understanding these three parts of the design process with digital tools. Now, the second piece of advice isn't and or. It's not OR. It could be and, okay? So you could enroll yourself in a course and a qualification, and you could do this. Jump into a startup. Work for free or work for nothing. Yeah? This will be your side hustle. Throw everything you've got into a digital startup. And while you're doing your day job, which is being a student, every moment that you get, hustle. Jump into the startup, get some equity, show that you're worth it, understand the process. Because it won't be all about the money, but you might make some money. It's actually going to be about the experience. Because understanding about the way that digital is transforming everything in a startup environment, you will learn to be agile, you will learn to be lean in terms of product development and iteration, just like Google. And the learning experiences and the connections you make, that'll set you up for a career that'll be so exciting and so dynamic. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and invite Mr. Ron to jump back in. And he has some questions. So if in the chat you would like to drop your questions into the chat, Mr. Ron is going to be our MC, and I'm going to look in the chat as well and make sure we're not going to turn on our microphones, but if you can put your questions into the chat in a written form, Mr. Ron and I would love to answer them for you. So I'm just going to roll through the chat right now. So Ron, love to see you. So jump in and help MC with me or our other hosts from Storm Overseas. Ron, jump in, please, and give your thoughts, please, and I'm going to look through the questions as well.
Right. Thank you very much, Craig. That was a very enlightening session on digital transformation. I'm sure many have probably gained a lot after almost 40 minutes of giving. In fact, I was zapped myself to realize so many things that I didn't know about. So great, you address a lot of those questions. There's one particularly somebody's posted here. Rahul says, rather he asks, how will Industrial Revolution 4.5 revolutionize the everyday life of a student in the process of learning?
Yeah, that's very, very good. So there's two parts to that, just to dig a little bit deeper in terms of an Industry 4.5. So at the moment, we've got the cyber-physical connection between physical products and cyber, meaning the internet. And I spoke about George, my fridge. Yes. So what we need to do really is think and look and see what will Industry 4.5 be. It's really about artificial intelligence. It's about virtual learning, virtual reality, augmented reality. So you will have seen when you can pick up your mobile phone and you can point it at a QR code or a menu or walk into a restaurant or a business, and you can hold up your phone and look around the room and your phone picks up a QR code or picks up a special code. And suddenly, as you're looking through your phone, you see products and services and menus and prices and payment gateways pop up. When you put your phone down, they're not there. But when you put your phone up, or you're wearing, electronic or digital glasses, you see these things. And so that's Industry 4.5, where we have big data and virtual reality and artificial reality converging with our physical objects and the cyber, the Internet of Things. How does that transfer into learning? So as students and as educators, we need to be cognizant of this. We need to think and understand that if the world of work, the world of business, the world of buying food is moving into interactive 3D, 4D virtual reality, our learning experiences as an educator need to recognize that and create learning experiences where students can interact with things. If you go to, please don't do it now, everybody, but later, if you look in Google and you type in something like tiger or lion, and I'm going to do that right now. So I type in tiger. When I type in tiger, one of the first things that pops up underneath the first search, if I scroll up a little bit, you will see it says, meet a tiger up close in 3D. And if I click that, I can hold up my phone and move my phone. It says view in 3D. As I move my phone around, I'm seeing through my camera a tiger in 3D in my office. And as I move my camera around and I zoom in, the tiger gets bigger. I see the side, I see the top. So if that's happening in my office and in my living room, here he is. And I can hear him growling. Don't know if you can hear that. You can hear that. So if we were able to do this just by typing in tiger in Google, how much more so does a learning experience for a student have to be seamlessly integrating Industry 4.5, which is augmented reality, virtual reality, and giving students the opportunity to see and experience things in their classroom, or in our case right now, learning from home, experience their learning in their home as if they were really there. One more example on that just before I finish. In Indonesia, we have students in my classroom who are talking to people on the space station with Google Cardboard and interacting with them. That's it. Mr. Ron.
I have a question from a teacher, I guess. He says, in teaching, can you feel digital transformation is helpful during and after this COVID-19?
It's helpful in normal, other than COVID days. Absolutely, yes. So in my classroom, I manage a couple of classrooms and research projects in Nepal and in Jakarta as well through different school groups. And like I said then, there's a digital design and technology class that I oversee and have deployed the very first in Indonesia. And digital design and technology is a Cambridge board qualification at A level. And so our students were designing 3D objects such as cars, animals, birds, and creatures like dinosaurs that we don't see now. and creating artificial reality, artificial augmented reality and virtual reality objects, and creating them, being creators. And this is in normal classroom environments. We can support our students to put on Google Cardboard, which is literally cardboard in the shape of a lens. I'm going to grab one. This is a plastic one from Miniso. Mr. Ron, do you have Miniso in India? This is $7 in New Zealand. So it's, I don't know, $3 or $4 American. And just sliding the phone in, kids can bring a phone, a smartphone to school, slide it in, and suddenly they can speak and see people in the space station and under the sea. And not only that, they can create their own 3D objects that are interactive, and then they can look and see them and they can publish them online. So this is my heart for education, is that everyone would realize we don't have to be consumers of education and content, we can be creators. And that's why I'm the academic director of 3DI throughout India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal. 3DI is about helping students become creators in photography, creators in digital media, creators in animation. And this is what we do all throughout the continent in 3DI in our classes and schools. Hope that answers the question, Ron.
Yes, it does. Thank you. Someone's asked for a very latent question. What are the common risks with digital transformation, which I think you almost covered, but you can just summarize that.
Certainly.
Or Shreya.
Look, risks are something that we must be aware of. So like we're doing right now in Zoom, we know who is here. And Ron, when you first started the meeting, said, please restrict what you put in the chat. So number one, we need to understand what are the ground rules whenever we use tools like this, a digital tool. Number two, we can use things like passwords. Number three is we actually check and vet the equipment that our students are using to make sure we've set up the safety features. So in one of the schools that I have worked with, we set up an iPad program, but we had parental controls in place. And the iPads, Apple has something called mobile device management. So we can take control of those devices at any stage and make sure no one is doing anything inappropriate. But if we focus on 21st century thinking, which is helping students to collaborate, communicate, be creative, and develop critical thinking, and we see the tools as only tools, just tools, and we enable the students to use the tools to search for and create their own content to prove what they're learning, we're going to be safe. So make sure learning is very structured, understand the ground rules, put safety measures in place, communicate those, and then be very firm. So if Ron and our Storm Overseas team saw anyone doing anything inappropriate in here, they'd be out. So we must make sure that we have firm procedures in place to make sure we protect everybody. And you're very welcome. I can see some people saying, thank you, that's very kind. And Firdaus says that you have Miniso in Hyderabad. I should have shares in Miniso.
Yeah, right. Great, Craig, thanks very much. Before we wrap up, I think that's all that we can take for the questions for today. Those who have any more questions, you're most welcome to keep on posting them on the chat. And after the session, you may also post them on the Storm app, not a problem. We'll address those offline. Craig, before you close, could you please remind the audience for the 15th program that you'll be back with us?
Fantastic. Yes, I will be back and discussing digital and productivity and effectiveness strategies and how we can use these digital tools to really make us more effective personally and make us more effective in our careers, our businesses, our engineering, our science, whatever it is that we're choosing to do, how we can be more productive and more effective using digital tools. I can see many people saying thank you, but I want to say thank you to you, everybody, for giving this time. There's a lot of uncertainty and concern and worry with the way that things are at the moment. But you know what you've done? You've invested this small part of time of your day into learning and growing your career, your studies, and your opportunities. So this is a new normal, and I applaud you for being here today. I look forward to seeing many of you in the next webinar. And do keep an eye out through Storm Overseas about our 2 diplomas that I mentioned about transformation in business admin and also with productivity and effectiveness. We look forward to having many of you achieving this international qualification over the next period of time with us, the university, and also with Storm Overseas. You're very welcome. I can see some very kind comments. I'm going to post in the chat one more time the link. It's gg.gg/Storm Transformation. We would love you to fill in the survey at the end so we can know how to do better for you, particularly if there are other topics that you are very interested in, because we would love to partner with other people to give you what you need so you have that learning opportunity and that competitive advantage. Thank you, Mr. Ron. Thank you to Mr. Srinivas Reddy as well.
Yeah.